live from the Guatemalan side of the Guatemalan-Mexican border, where I've spent the past couple days. Today I'm joined by my fixer, David Mazat.
Correct.
I'm pronouncing Mazat correctly, right?
Yes, Mazat, yeah.
Okay, very quickly, just introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, I am a Guatemalan guy. I am now an interpreter, and I've been living here in Guatemala for at least 34 years. I have not been abroad that long time, and yeah, I'm here. I'm Guatemalan.
And you're here at a very timely moment, at least for me, and I would say for the global audience, as there's been a lot of action here lately. In fact, there's action going on right behind us, which I don't think anyone can make out. Maybe you can in the picture, but off behind us, there you might see a blue tent off in this direction. By the way, right behind me is the Suchiati River. The river is the border between Guatemala and Mexico. This is where a migrant caravan of about 4,000 people
Correct.
arrived just 1 week ago, and there were huge clashes between Mexican police and the migrants, which we'll be talking about momentarily. And much of it played out in the river right here, maybe a little closer toward the center of town that way. But off behind us, right at the moment, there are, I believe, they're National Guard troops, Mexican National Guard, I believe. Anyway, they're Mexican authorities. They're wearing white uniforms, and they have detained someone who, I guess, just crossed the river right now. Do we have any information about him?
Yes.
Step in here. Step in here.
They have told me here, the people that is around, that they know that guy. That guy is the one that has the draft or the raft in charge. He's from El Salvador, and he made a mistake by going that way, because that's not the usual way to cross people. They usually cross on this other place, or this other point that is closer to, the most known place to cross. But this side is a little bit sketchy, and he has been held at least for 40 minutes now, after he left some people that was allowed to go into the Mexican side. So I believe, and they say that people that cross with him, they work there, and they probably are Guatemalans or Mexicans, and the guy is just facing the consequences or taking the wrong way.
But we don't, and by the way, I see someone's tuned in at the moment. Can you please tell me about the volume? I know there's wind. Let me know if you can hear. So, he is a migrant? He's not a migrant? Do we know? And granted, we don't know this for sure. We're just speaking with the locals on the Guatemalan side.
Yes, they're saying that this guy is from El Salvador, but he is established here. He has a home base here, and he works as a raft holder, and he just did a short trip from this side of the shore to the other side, just taking regular people, civilians, that they live there, because they were held in also a bicycle on the raft, and they have gone. The National Guard or the authorities there, they have leave them freedom.
Okay, so then I guess the situation calls for a little more context. We're in a very unique place, as some truck might be driving by, I'm not sure, but there are a lot of people, and over the course of this broadcast we might go down there. Maybe you can make them out in the background, some people on a raft crossing back and forth. There are lots of people, not too dissimilar from a border I was on recently, the Colombian-Venezuelan border. There are lots of people who are constantly going back and forth, but this area, this stretch of the river and the border, is not the main crossing point, right?
Right.
And so because of that, that might have created some confusion. We don't know exactly what's going on, but the Mexican authorities are clearly looking out for migrant crossings around here. Now, in fact, we yesterday not only spotted a migrant crossing here, well, a little more down this way, farther away from the city center. So we not only spotted a migrant crossing, but we filmed it as well. And you want to tell the audience a little bit about what we saw?
Yes, actually, we were walking around, and well, Josh had a feeling that probably we can go further there and we can might find something. And in fact, we find a group of people that they come from Haiti, and
We don't know for sure.
yeah, we think that they come from Haiti. And according to the description that one of the guys gave us on the way there, he was telling that they were dark-skinned people, and we find it actually. There was a group of about 50 people there, and they were being leading by some local guys.
Actually, we should note it wasn't just one group. So initially, and this will all be coming out. I've already edited the video, and I hope it's up. The upload speeds around here are not very fast, unfortunate. But video of the whole event's gonna come out, and we were threatened over this. So I mean, I'd like to get it out. But first, we noticed off in the distance a group crossing, and it looked like they had dark skin. And then we kept walking, and on the Guatemalan side, we found this group of maybe 15 people, something like that. Or what? Men, women, children, the whole
Yes,
deal.
it was a group of a bunch of people, around 50 people, and yes, there were men involved, women involved, and kids, right? Babies, and probably some of other women pregnant, I believe.
And then as we were trying to speak with them, and they were not like most of the other migrants. We have spoken with numerous migrants around here, mostly from Central America, if not all of them. And most of these migrants we've spoken with and have interviewed, they've been pretty friendly with us, even if they don't want to give an interview. But this crowd was not friendly with us. And shortly after we arrived there and started trying to talk to them, what happened? Some people showed up.
Yes, the leading guys, they were there. They started calling them to be ready and to run. So they did that. They pick up their stuff after they were eating it, because we found them and we talked to them for a little bit, and they were saying that if we do not speak Creole to them, they won't speak to us. They managed to communicate that in English or Spanish or something like that. I don't recall exactly. But yeah, after they saw us and we were there for a few minutes, they decided to go, and we were after them, right?
Well, they decided to leave when some people showed up who we suspect were smugglers.
Right.
Very much seemed like they were smugglers, and there were a couple people guiding this group of possibly Haitians. We think they're Haitians, but we don't know for sure. Across the river, right? You want to give a little bit of a play-by-play?
Yes, what happened there is that whenever they started going in, there was a guy leading them. It was a teenager, and they started going inside the river, and they didn't mind us at all. They didn't stop to say anything, or they just ignored us and they continued going. They crossed the river. We watched all the stuff. They were going on a different way, different path. That is, like a blind spot, we can call it. And after they crossed the river and they went on the other side, they just run inside the bushes and the stuff, the nature, the vegetation. And we saw back. We saw that the teenager was coming back to the shore. We tried to speak with him, and he was not willing to talk at all. Instead of that, he told us, you should stop doing this because there is a guy there that he has a gun, so better if you leave. So
Which was a clear threat.
it was.
It was a bit nerve-wracking, and we're trying to stay away from that exact spot. But nonetheless, I guess to update anyone who's tuned in right now, this is an area where, even though the migrant caravan has been broken up, and it was broken up several days back, there are still migrants here. We're meeting them, we're interviewing them, and this location of the river, this stretch of the river right here, is a place where some people are still trying to cross from Guatemala into Mexico. And it's now been like 45 minutes or so, where we're looking straight across that way. I don't know if you can make him out if you're watching, but there is a person over there who's detained by the Mexican authorities who are in white uniforms, and we're hearing from people on this side of the river that he's from El Salvador and is actually living here, and this is somewhat of a mistake and miscommunication. We don't really know for sure what's going on over there. By the way, again, for whoever's tuned in, would you please let me know about the volume? Is it okay? I hope so. And you know what, let's take a bit of a walk and explain somewhat of this very interesting border and the terrain here and the river and the city. So in this, we're on the Guatemalan side, right beside the city of Tucunuman. Okay, Michelle's saying volume is great. Perfect. Thank you very much, Michelle, and thank you for tuning in. So down this way is where we ran into the smugglers and the situation yesterday, which we managed to film and is coming out soon. They're not here right now, but right around here there have been a lot of migrants camped lately. Not so much camped as just hanging out, and we've even been speaking to them. And there was something interesting going on here. It looked like there was a group of migrants right under these trees here who just recently left, and they were staring at the Mexican authorities on the other side, who've got a blue tent set up, somewhat of a post. Maybe it's a National Guard post, and it was like there was a little standoff, right? The migrants here were watching the Mexican authorities. The Mexican authorities, presumably across the river, were watching them. And yeah, clearly there are still people trying to cross from Guatemala into Mexico, and in fact, we filmed some of them yesterday.
That's correct. I managed to overhear about this group that was here, and they were just I approached them actually, and I asked them if they're planning to cross or whatever, and they told me no, that we're just hanging out here, just seeing how the stuff is and blah blah blah. But actually, they were vigilante, or they were watching how the police or the forces in the other side to try to make it. Right, and they are planning probably to make it tomorrow or the next day, but they are around here and they are hanging out, just waiting to see the situation, how that develops about the military presence and the authorities.
Do we know what countries the people who are hanging out under these trees are from?
Yes, they were Hondurans.
And thus far, from my experience, but I want your point of view as well, we've talked with dozens of migrants so far here on the Guatemalan side, exclusively on the Guatemalan side, although we sort of crossed into Mexico. But maybe we'll update that situation in a bit. From my perspective, it seems like the largest nationality among the migrants is Honduran. Possibly that's even the majority of them who at least remain here after the caravan's been broken up, and whom are still coming in, followed by, I guess, Salvadorians from El Salvador, and then after that, not so many people, but some other countries. Is that your take as well?
Yes, that's what I think as well.
Let's start walking.
That's what I think as well. There's people from different sides of Central America, but most likely the number one could be Honduran people, or people from Honduras, and people from El Salvador in second place. And there are Nicaraguans, a little bit of Nicaraguans that we have found. There is a guy that works here, and he has the belief that
some Guatemalan police driving by.
Yeah,
By the way, the Guatemalan police, very visible. They're driving all over the place, but don't see them carrying out migration enforcement. All right, continue. Sorry.
Well, as I said before, the Nicaraguan guy that is here, he's making a life now. He's working as a draft manager.
You mean he's one of the guys operating the rafts, taking people back and forth across the river?
Now he's doing that. Okay. And I asked him if he wants to go further, if he wants to go to Mexico or United States. And he told me no, he doesn't have any interest in doing that, that he prefers to stay here as a base city and keep on working. And he was not using shorts, he was using just regular pants. So, and
you mean to walk through the river?
To walk inside the river and just to pull the rafts actually. So yeah, just to help.
But that doesn't seem to be the case among most people most of the migrants who come here, right? Most of them want to move on, yeah?
Yes, most of them, they want to move on, and we also have found that some of them, they see the situation that is very difficult and it's very hard, so they decide to quit, and they are getting back to their places, to their countries. could be Salvador, Honduras, and yes, we have receiving that information from them directly, right?
Yes, but there are also many people who are determined to move on. And among those, would you say the U.S. is the number one destination, or the destination that the most people want to go to?
Well, at the moment, they have been encounter many situations that possible make them change their minds, and they decided to stay here in Guatemala, to continue to Mexico. Some of them have stayed in Mexico for a while, and some others they really want to go to the United States. They don't matter actually what city they're going to be, but they want to go to the United States and make a better life there. That's what they say. Some others they have an idea, a better idea where they want where they want to go. They want to go to Virginia, to Richmond. They want to go to
Seattle.
Seattle.
An interview is going to be posted with someone who said
New
or
York
wants
City.
to go to Seattle.
New York City also, and some of them he was there to say it. Even Los Angeles will be okay. Even Los Angeles. So they are just deciding on the way what to do.
And from my point of view, there have also been a fair amount of people who've openly admitted it to us that they were living in the U.S. and they've been deported.
Correct. We have found some men that they have been deported. Just recently, we were talking with a guy that he got a DUI.
DUI, driving under the influence of alcohol.
Right, and also some domestic violence, and he got deported because of those situations. And
Which he said on camera with us, so that's an interview that will be published eventually.
Okay, no spoiler alert, but he was part of the force before. And
He was a policeman in El Salvador.
in El Salvador, yeah.
Or so he says.
Yeah, that's what he said. So he has been living there and he regrets
Here's
about what happened.
here's a look at the edge of town. It's Ticunuman, Guatemala behind us. But we're gonna continue walking along the riverfront and give you a better look at more of the regular action that happens along the river, as well as the setup here on the Guatemalan-Mexican border, and show you the place where there was the standoff and actual fighting between the migrant caravan and the Mexican police less than a week ago. Speaking of Mexican police or National Guard, there are a whole lot of them right across the river here, yeah?
Yeah, the white and the people that is in white uniform.
Let's flip around.
Yeah, we can go further.
Okay, yeah, we could walk out onto this. We're gonna take you right out, sort of, into the middle of the Suchiate River, Rio Suchiate, that forms the border between Guatemala and Mexico. Behind us, what you are looking at is Guatemala, and we're gonna flip around so that you can see Mexico and possibly the National Guard or whatever Mexican authorities there are, because there are a lot of them and we're walking right toward them. Although we can't literally walk, this isn't a bridge. It's not gonna take us across the river, but it'll take us right into the middle of it. And some guys are offering us a boat ride to the other side. This is always the case. These guys operating these rafts always whistling at us and trying to get me to take one of these boat rides across to Mexico.
That eventually I think that you will take one.
Well,
I believe that.
Yeah, I want to. I want to. So right behind us, I don't know if you can make them out, but there are a bunch of men in white uniforms, and also there are people offering us rafts. And the men in white uniforms are carrying out immigration enforcement, and they have very much been in the news lately, with a lot of people saying that this, what you're looking at behind me, even though it's not a wall, is effectively Donald Trump's wall, and that rather than immigration enforcement, rather than the US-Mexico border being the focal point of immigration enforcement, that this border right here, which is more like a river, or is a river, is the new wall, or is the new US-Mexico border, or is the new focal point of immigration enforcement in this hemisphere. Down in this direction, you might be able to make out the bridge in the background. It's not that far away, but I can't zoom in while I'm on this live stream. That bridge is the between Mexico and Guatemala in this area here, and that's where the standoff started. The migrants who were part of the caravan a week ago, I'm not sure exactly what day it was, maybe it was only 4 or 5, bridge, and from what I understand, they demanded entry into Mexico. Entry was not granted, and then eventually chaos ensued right here along and inside the Suchiate River. You can watch the footage. Lots of all major media really have footage of it. There were hundreds, maybe even thousands of people who stormed the river from the Guatemalan side, tried to cross into the Mexican side. Many did. Many were eventually arrested, some not. Some presumably have made it on further. Some reached some sort of agreement with the Mexican government that they'll be allowed to stay and work. Many not. Many have been deported. What's going on? What are you looking at?
Well, what I'm looking at right now is just a draft.
Talk to the camera.
It's just a raft right now that is going or is coming back from Mexico side to Guatemalan side. And it seems that they have a bicycle in there. So they used to live here, or they have some sort of property here, or a kind of work. So they're crossing by like nothing happens. So they have authorization to do that, but not the migrants. If they see people that is actually like a migrant or some traveler, they stop them right there and they start making questions. If you see there is
talking to the camera.
Okay, that people right there, they just left the raft and they are just talking with the authorities on the other side, or the authorities are questioning them where they're coming from, what they want, and why are they doing this situation crossing the river right now. So that's what they have right now. They're holding them and they're discussing right here, you know, on this area, right here, right there. Yeah, the migration authorities, they are just doing questions on them because they just left the raft that just took them back there. On this side or Guatemala side, every raft that is coming in, they're not being held by any authority. Here in Guatemala, the people from Central America, they have the authorization or free pass, so they can walk around and be here without any disruption.
And it is interesting to note that upon entering Guatemala right here, there is no border checkpoint. There isn't even a welcome to Guatemala sign. They're just welcome, bienvenidos to Cunaman, which is the city right here on the Guatemalan side. There is somewhat of a immigration office or checkpoint on the bridge right over there where the official crossing is, but it seems like it's just totally normal for people here to be crossing locals. Some policy, as far as I understand, that allows you, at least if you cross into Mexico, 72 hours, but you have to stay within this border region. You can't go on to Mexico City or somewhere up north or along the Caribbean coast. If you get this stamp that allows you, I believe, 72 hours, you can cross into Mexico, and you have to just stay in this area. I'm considering doing that tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see what happens. There have been rumors that another caravan is coming. Those rumors are not confirmed, but I can confirm that on a daily basis, or more like maybe even an hourly basis, there are still migrants arriving into Cunaman, this border city right here on the Guatemalan side. I'm seeing them, I'm filming them, I'm speaking with them. I've conducted a lot of interviews. Have I been invited onto a raft? Well, let me see what's going on. I might cross the river live on. What's happening here? We're just trying to get a motorcycle.
Yeah, I'm just helping the guys here to, unload the raft very quick.
All right, but that's no. I've got a broadcast to operate. Which, by the way, if you've got comments and questions, feel free to chime in. I'm garnering quite a lot of information here by speaking with many migrants, and it's unfortunate that I wasn't here when when shit hit the fan, for lack of a better term. But I did arrive in town just a few days after the caravan was broken up. So I've been able to speak with some people. I don't think I have anyone on camera who is part of the caravan, but I have spoken with people who were part of the caravan, and I've been hearing a lot of allegations of mistreatment, particularly of women, by the Mexican police. That's something I might look into further. There have been many people who are saying that when the caravan clashed with the Mexican police, that the Mexican police were targeting women as opposed to men. It was very much in the news, and there's footage you can see of pepper spray and migrants throwing rocks at the people in the caravan. You can see the violence. David, we're in the middle of a broadcast. I'm trying to get my fixer back over here. He's doing double duty. I'm talking right now a bit about what we've heard from people who are part of the caravan, particularly with regard to Mexican police and Mexican police allegedly targeting women and whatnot. Can you talk a bit about what members of the caravan with whom we have spoken, what they're saying?
Well, they have described the situation very violent. They don't like it at all. They have been upset, and all of them they convert on this point that the military presence, or the military people, or the authorities in the Mexican side, they were really mean, rude, and they overreact towards women with kids or babies on their hands. And they were beating the woman, holding by their hair and pulling them and basically forcing with them, right? And after they were put inside the vehicles they have for them, they were beaten up inside the vehicles. They were not touched, or they were kind of held in a really good way before they were into the buses. After they went into the buses, they were beaten down there inside the buses. And also
the allegation about Mexican authorities beating people in buses, we've only heard that from one person, right? Or have we heard that from others?
At least I have heard that from 5 or 6 people now.
Oh, about the buses.
About the buses,
Okay.
about the beating
about
of women.
about the women we've heard from a bunch of people.
Yeah, about that situation. I just heard also a description of what happened there when the caravan was asking for permission to get inside Mexico side, and they were making a line
Over on that bridge
on the
that's
bridge.
in the background.
Right, they were doing the line to process their permissions to go into Mexico with this humanitarian permission, but they were denied to do that. And then they started saying, well, we're doing this right way or the bad way. So they decided to cross the river.
Basically,
doing this situation.
we were told they gave an ultimatum.
Yes.
Well, that's what you mean by the right way or the bad way. That the migrant caravan gave an ultimatum to Mexico.
Right.
That's what we were told.
Right, about the permission. And after they got denied the permission, they start coming into the river shore and start crossing. And that's when the police or the enforcement in Mexico, they start trying to stop them, and they start fighting back, and it turns violent. They say that also one man died from the bridge that was just tossing from the bridge into the river, and the river is not that deep. It's not that deep enough on that side, so the man unfortunately died, they say. And also the kids.
We need to confirm that. I'm not sure about that.
Right, it's just a speculation. Anyways, the kids have been like tossing or being harmed by the tear gas they have been throwing on them.
That's children. That's a point we haven't gone into. Ages. So far, what have we heard about the ages of people who are in the caravan? Likewise, the ages of the people we've been meeting.
Okay, well, the youngest one that we have met so far, it is 17 years old. And yesterday,
Who's told us? But
Yeah.
we've seen people who clearly look younger than 17.
definitely. Among the guys that were here in the shore before, the Honduras guy, the guys from Honduras, they have a kid, and he's about 7 to 9 years old. So yes, we have been. I have been seeing a lot of people different ages, and they are between kids among 6 to 9 years old to 45 or 48 years old. Most likely.
48 is pretty precise.
Yeah.
Yesterday we met a group that had just arrived from El Salvador, and they were pretty young. They were all about what
19?
18, 19 to 25, 26,
23.
something like that.
Right.
But none of them were traveling with their parents. They were just traveling together, which I guess 19 years old isn't that young, although some of them looked pretty young. But okay, what about male female ratio? Any comment on that?
Well, I have seen the majority of people is men, but also I have seen women, and women, elderly women, well, not that elders, but probably around 30 to 45 years old, and they are here. They're traveling. They have been asking questions. They have been at the customs office right here on the bridge, and they have come with news and stuff. So I have seen children.
Okay, Svetlana's asking a couple questions, and if I miss some, please ask them again. One of the questions was, what is the incentive for joining the caravan? Are you being paid?
I don't think so. I don't think that you can get paid by joining the caravan, or you have to pay anything by joining the caravan. It's just an idea that people has, and we have been asking that question to ourselves. Who is directing this caravan? Who is putting all them together? I mean, we don't know that yet, and we have the information for sure. They're not getting paid at all, not even a dime.
I mean, I can't confirm that, but it doesn't look like these people have much money. It really doesn't look like it.
It does not.
But one tangent that's related, it seems like many people who we are meeting, not all, but some of them, particularly the ones who have just arrived over the past couple days, they weren't part of the caravan, but it seems like the timing is correlated at least. So the impression I'm getting is that once news breaks that there's a caravan coming, then there are a lot of essentially copycats, people who think, all right, now's the time, now is my chance to get into the United States preferably, or maybe Mexico, and they follow. So they're not actually part of the caravan, but it seems like there's somewhat of a domino effect, and once the caravan comes, then all these other people keep coming. Are you observing something similar?
Yes, it's true. I have observing that as well. I have been talking with people, and most of the immigrants that we have found in La Casa del Migrante here, they have not been in the caravan itself. They have been by themselves. They have been traveling alone, and they happen to be here at the same time that this situation is going on about the caravan that was here, and they are joining after that, or they are just deciding to get back to their countries or stay here in Guatemala, whichever is best for them.
Michelle's asking what's the cause of or what are the locals saying is the cause of the migrant crisis?
Well,
do you want to comment on that?
The locals here in the city, in Tecumán, they have seen this all the time. This is not the first time that it's happening. They see this daily. I mean, not in large groups as the caravan does, but yeah, they have seen that all the time. They are getting used to this kind of situation about people coming in drafts from the Guatemalan side to the Mexican side. So it's pretty common, but it's not the large groups.
I think the question is getting at more as, and ask another question if this isn't it, but I think what we're being asked is more about what is driving these people to leave their countries in the first place. And we're asking, we've got lots of interviews, so what are we finding out?
Yeah, regarding that matter, yes, I will say that people is getting into traveling on this journey because they want a better life. The economics or the financial situation on their countries, on their own side, is not the best. So they live in poverty and also insecurity. There are a lot of gangs in Central America that are making their lives harder. They might have some sort of own business, and they have been extorted on those businesses. And there's a lot of violence in these countries right now because of the same situation about poverty, about the financial stuff. So that's the reason. The main reason they're leaving their countries because of that, because of the financial situation that is not the best at the moment.
That's my impression as well. I think there are a lot of causes, a lot of factors, but it seems to me that economic motivation is the largest driving factor. That's my impression so far based on who we've spoke. Ever hear about the Kalergi plan? So I didn't get the whole question, but the question, because sorry, it disappears from the screen when I don't have a computer in front of me. Something about, would you participate in the caravan when it results in the destruction of your people? I'm not sure if that question is getting at, like, there's a displacement of people happening and it's I don't know if a brain drain would be the right term, but it's pulling people out of their home countries and bringing them to the rich countries. I don't know if that's what you're getting at by asking that question, and I'm not familiar with the plan that you're talking about. But I think we should expand a little bit more on what we've heard people with regard to their motivations for leaving. So yeah, some people have brought up gangs. So that's particularly in Honduras and El Salvador, right?
Correct.
What do we know about the gangs in Honduras and El Salvador and how they might be impacting the daily lives of people living there?
Well, the gangs in these countries, even here in Guatemala, the presence of these gangs are very, very, very strong. So they dominate the lowest part of the society or the poor areas. So that's where they live, actually.
How so? Extortion? What are the problems?
Correct. They do extortion, they do muggers, and using violence, right? Using guns or using threatening stuff, or maybe a knife or something like that. They get their way, actually.
Is this a problem that the average person is encountering in Honduras and El Salvador? Unfortunately, I only passed through those countries. I rushed through Honduras and El Salvador to get to this very spot right here. So I did drive through, but I don't have a feel for the country other than what the people I'm meeting from Honduras and El Salvador are telling me. So what, the average person needs to watch his back every day when he's walking around because some gang might rob him, or what do we know?
Well, that's basically the situation. Every day people is being targeted by the gang members to mock them or to take from them their belongings and sell them to a cheaper price for anything, right? So that's the way they're living there, and they have told us that they are afraid about that violence because that doesn't just reach the gangs. They also mention the police that whenever they see you on the street and they check on you that you are a poor people or you are one of the poorest on the scale, they get on you, right? They blame you, or they put you as a guilty person, and they took you inside, or they took you to beat you up.
And we heard a bit about that, allegations that the police are acting like gangs themselves. Part of my audience might think police are gangs and there's no difference, but we're not going to get into that now. But I still want to impress upon the fact that from our conversations, I really hear economic reasons being the biggest reasons for migration. So if we're talking about an average person living in Honduras or El Salvador, what kind of financial state is he or she in? How much money are they making a month? What's an average salary in approximately in Honduras or El Salvador?
I would say, talking in dollars.
In dollars, yes.
In dollars, I would say probably a month, $100 to $50.
So, if someone from El Salvador or Honduras does make it to the U.S., as many, for those of you who are just joining us right now, we did mention earlier that there have been several people who we have spoken with, some of whom we interviewed on camera, who have told us that they were living in the United States and they were deported. we were given a few different reasons for deportations, but anyway, there are plenty of people from these countries who have migrated to the U.S. who are trying to migrate to the U.S. And from the ones we're talking to, a lot of them are saying, or at least some of them are saying, that they don't plan on living the rest of their lives in the U.S. They see it more as a vehicle for a way to get money to help out their family.
That's right.
You want to expand on that?
I have interviewing people, or we have been talking with people around, and they're saying that they don't want to stay in the United States forever. They want just to have enough money to get back to their countries, to build a house, to have a business by their own, and also for their kids or their family members. So they're looking just an opportunity to work. They're saying also that they are good people. They are not drug dealers. They are not gang members. They are not doing anything wrong. They just need an opportunity to grow as a, as a humankind, and get the right place or the right way to get money for their families.
But yeah, specifically, we've been, and Svetlana's saying that this mass migration, I guess, is going to bring about communism or a communist vote, something like that. We can touch on that in a minute. And also saying that I think she was saying the economic situation in the U.S. or maybe North America as a whole isn't so great, and not everyone can be supported. Wolf, do you have any idea how many Americans don't have money or a home for their children? Michelle, it's understandable for people to want to survive and have a quality of life when their needs are met. So yeah, we're getting comments about the situation in the U.S., which I guess some of the migrants here are familiar with, but a lot of them have never been to the U.S. before and aren't so familiar with it. You personally, you haven't been to the U.S. Not that you're part of the caravan or a migrant here.
No. I have never been in the United States.
Glenn's commenting, the problem is most of the young, gifted entrepreneurs are leaving South America. They should stay and make their own countries great. I don't know if that's a reference to MAGA, but though that brings up an interesting point. This is something that I think I have a pretty good impression of so far, and part of that's through you. I don't think we're seeing, at least in the current crop, a bunch of entrepreneurs and successful people and highly educated people. Comment.
Well, not at all. Most of the people that we have in the interview or we have been talking to, they're saying that they have no opportunity to work in their countries. Even though I have been there in El Salvador and Honduras, and I have seen the people, and I have seen the factories. They have their own juice factory. They made a lot of stuff from that factory, more than juices and stuff. But they're still saying that they don't have an opportunity to work there. And it's because of the same situation. They don't have a title, they don't have a diploma, they don't have even finished elementary school, some of them. So
among the people we've spoken with, you think there's a sizable percentage that have not even finished elementary school?
That's correct. I believe that. And most of the people that we have been encountered, there are people with the lowest income possible, or they're very poor. They live in poverty and they just have one meal a day. And that's the reason they are leaving the country, right?
Svetlana saying, who is telling you that? I'm not sure if that's in reference to what we're talking about or other comments here, but I can say from, and you can as well, very, very, very few of the migrants speak English. Among the ones who speak any English who we've spoken with, they really can't even hold a conversation.
They have been there in the United States at some point.
Yeah, and that includes people such as one I interviewed who was in the U.S. for more than a decade.
In Miami.
And he basically can't speak English. Some of them can understand a little English, but I would say, and I want your perspective as well, the majority of the people we've met can't even understand English, let alone speak it.
That's right. They're right. Most of the people that we have encountered, they have been there in the United States at some point in their lives. They have come back here, deported to their countries, and they're trying again to go to United States, and they do not speak English that much. There are some of, or a few of them, that they have spoken English to us, but there are very few, and they're very about that.
And most of them, when they're speaking English to us, it's just a sentence here, a sentence there, like "Hi, how are you?" or some joke or curse word, right? It's not actual conversation.
That's correct. That's correct. They cannot hold a conversation, or they cannot describe their situation in English. They just have Spanish as a mother language, so that's what they use. And they're here in Central America still, between Mexico and Guatemala, where the Spanish is the main language.
Never mind skilled trades, so how would that change for more people? Michelle left an interesting comment or question, which she might have then corrected herself on, saying, is it the case that most of the people are not actually headed for America, that maybe they're headed for some other country like Mexico? And I would say, and then I'll go to you, it seems you're being used as pawns in a chess game. Well, thank you, Wolf. I appreciate the kind comment. What was the? Oh yeah, about countries. It seems like among just about everyone, the U.S. is the preferred destination. But it also seems like, based on what's unfolded in recent months, weeks, or even days, that a lot of people have now lost hope on the U.S., and maybe some of them say they'd settle for Mexico or even Guatemala.
That's correct. Also, we have talked to people, and they have been living in Mexico, so they are talking about pursuing the Mexican dream now. And I can tell for sure that they are also looking for the Guatemalan dream, because in Guatemala they can find a place to stay and work, and the same happens in Mexico. The last year, the first caravan that tried to go inside of Mexico, they got permissions, humanitarian permissions to stay there for a certain time and work there, and they have lived there for this past year. Some of them mistakenly have returned to their countries, and when they try to get back to Mexico, according to this permission they have, it's expired, so they have been kicking out, and happens to have in the same time that the caravan was coming in. So yeah, they're looking also for Mexico or Guatemala or any other place that they can have a shelter and food and some other type of income.
Okay, so there are comments about who's being used as pawns and the grander geopolitics and global chess game. For the most part, I'm staying out of that in my reporting here. I didn't really come here, I did not come here to speculate. I did not come here to theorize. I came here to provide you reporting on what is actually happening, who is coming, who is leaving, who's trying to cross, who appears to be smuggled across, what countries are they coming from, and what are these people saying. And I'm not really here to say what's right or wrong and what should or should not be happening. But I do understand that Svetlana saying her neighbor is from El Salvador, has been here 20 years, always trying to get home. That's how much sucks in Canada. Okay, well, Canada's pretty cold, a bit colder than El Salvador. But yeah, I do understand that there's a grander scheme, or there are grander things going on. However, here on the ground, whether some guy from El Salvador or Honduras is being used as a pawn or not, and we can debate that, sure, I mean, I have no problem if we debate it. His reality is not the global chessboard. His reality is
Here.
the here and now, his family, him trying to survive, where he's going to be sleeping tonight, what country he's going to be in today, tomorrow, next week, next month. And yeah, I understand that there are much bigger geopolitical forces at play, but when I'm encountering someone from El Salvador and Honduras, I don't think that's part of his perspective. Any comments?
Well, at the moment, as Josh said, yes, they're living the moment right now, and their moment is this. They are here standing on this point, and they see the shore right there next to them, which is a new opportunity for them, and they cannot get there. It's just a few meters. I can swim, I can just cross walking, and they are thinking the same there. They're thinking about their families and the opportunities that they can get on this side. But I think also my personal perspective is that they can also dream about that in their own countries. They can build some kind of business, or I don't know, they can do something else to try to develop their own countries. We are developed here in Guatemala too, saying we are developing, so it is good, it is good. We are not staying on some point, so we are going forward, and we're going to reach at some point in history, we're going to reach the greatness of United States or Russia or China or something like that. But I think the same people that is coming here, the migration or the migrants, they are here just to pursue a dream, just to survive.
All right, migrants being used as puppets. Americans are now moving to spots in Mexico. I'm glad to catch you live again. All right, a couple people bringing up Americans going to Mexico. To some extent, I'm an example of that point you're raising. I'm American, but I see more opportunity globally than I do in my own country. Maybe my situation is a lot different than many others, but then again, there are many Americans, there are many people from first world countries, from Western European countries, who are moving to various countries around the world where the weather might be warmer, the taxes might be lower, where there are a variety of things that appeal to them. And yeah, we could end up with some big mishmash. Michelle saying, I love Mexico and would love to explore more of South America. Well, I'm headed to Mexico. I'll be there for pretty much the next month. So maybe, I don't know if you want to join me. Come to Anarchapulco. use promo code WRC. You get 40% off your tickets, and then take our travel hacking workshop. Shameless plug. But anyway, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are getting mixed up nowadays. You want to get into your personal situation a little bit? You're from Guatemala, but you're interested in trying out the digital nomad thing, right?
Oh yes, it's true. At the moment, I got a girlfriend. She's living in California and she's working online. She's teaching classes of English, the language, to Chinese kids, and she's doing that remotely. So she has talked to me about this new situation about working online or remotely, and it's working out for me now. So I'm going to be in February the 3rd. I have my flight going to Colombia. So we're going to South America while still working from home, and which is nice. That's the new life for me. I'm not working in an office anymore. I'm working on the road.
And Colombia is a fun country. I can attest to that. I just spent a month there. Svetlana raised a point that some others have raised that I think we should address. She's saying the migrants are being lied to. And you know what? I think we agree, at least to some extent, that there's truth to that. I don't know if you want to get into a much bigger agenda. Like, I don't know if you want to bring up names like George Soros and whatnot. But at least on the ground, there are smugglers. Yeah, we're running into some of these smugglers. And I do think at multiple levels, migrants are being lied to. You want to...
Description, they say, or they talk to us about what happened and why they are here. And some of them have received information that they're going to receive this humanitarian permission again to get back to Mexico and stay there for a while, for a few days, and they're going to have the permission to stay at least in Mexico. So Mexico is allowing them to stay on their side of the country. And sometimes when they get there to the custom office to ask for this permission, there's no information about that, or they say, no, it's false, or we're not doing this now, or something like that. So they have to return and try to get in a different way, illegally. But at the moment, yes, they have been told a bunch of situations that they will find a permission, a visa or something like that here. They're going to get that here. And also, I think I can blame the government of the United States as well, because they are asking for other countries to be the third option if they're looking for asylum.
Explain, probably our audience understands, but explain the third option phenomenon.
Well, the third option or the third country is whenever a country is open their doors to receive migrants or immigrant people that has been persecuted or they have their life on risk on their own countries, right? So they ask asylum to United States, and United States offered them a different country, which is the third one. And Guatemala has been held in this agreement not just that long ago. I think it was last November. They signed up for this agreement. So United States is sending people as well here, and sometimes I have read this on the news that they have been put in a plane from their countries, and they're flying away, and they end up here in Guatemala. So whenever they leave the plane and they start asking where are they?
For instance, these people might be from Honduras or El Salvador.
From Honduras, most likely.
Yet they get deported to Guatemala.
They get deported to Guatemala and they say this is the country that you're going to be in. And which country is this? They don't have any idea where they are. And whenever they discover this Guatemala, they decide to get back to Honduras or get back going to north, which is Mexico and United States.
I want to bring up some parallels to Europe. I can't help it, but as you guys are tuned in or follow me, you're probably aware, I've spent a lot of time covering the migrant crisis in Europe. I was on many borders in Europe and spent a lot more time doing that than doing it here. Although there are many similarities. I think in many cases, migrants have been overpromised, been lied to. The benefits that they could collect have been exaggerated by smugglers, among other people. And likewise, you have the third country phenomenon or situation. It's not exactly the same, but maybe I'll bring up Turkey as an example. Turkey has been deemed a safe country and has been holding 3 million or more Syrian refugees among other migrants for several years now. And I mean, there are clear differences between, say, Turkey and Guatemala. Actually, I even ran into some similar phenomenon in East Africa, with Uganda being deemed a safe spot, and Uganda has a pretty high number of refugees there. Any thoughts on what might become of Glenn saying that is so true, breaking the norm? He might be referring to some other comments. What's going to happen with Guatemala now? A lot of Hondurans and Salvadorians are going to be forced to live here. They're going to go back to Honduras and El Salvador. What do you think is going to happen?
That's a great question, actually. And my own perspective says that they will decide. It's on their hands now. It's their call. If they want to stay here in Guatemala, it's all right. We don't have a law against them. According to the agreements they have,
it's their right to flat out live here or just travel through here.
They can just travel through here, right? They can stay and then have this country just as going through on the way. But if they decide to stay, they are allowed to stay. They can get an ID, which in my case is blue. But in their cases, being from Honduras and they want to live here and nationalize here, they receive a pink one, a pink ID. So it is possible. It is possible to live here. I have friends that are from Salvador and they have established here, but they have a different level of education.
Okay, Svetlana asked a fun question. It's warm here, or at least it looks so, and there's good fishing. And she brought up one other thing. I forget what it was. Sorry about that. What's the temperature like, and is there good fishing here?
Well, the temperature, it's very hot. I will say around 26, 28 Celsius degrees.
It's been hotter than that during peak hours this week, and it weather report for Americans says it's supposed to be in the low 90s, up to low 90s every day this week. So it's supposed to get into the 30s.
At some point, yes, it is warm.
Although it's not that hot at this moment.
Right,
it's cooled
it is
down
warm.
a little bit, but
it is warm. But at the moment,
I like the climate here.
We're facing some climate, impact. We saw previous. We were here. I saw in the news that one of the mountains here in Guatemala got covered in ice because it was very cold, and it's kind of fresh at the moment. It's not that warm, but it's kind of fresh.
All right, fresh. What about fishing?
But about fishing,
is there good fishing here? I don't know.
Well, I don't know, but I have seen people throwing the nets on the other side. Remember, I told you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we saw some people fishing, not many, some.
I have not seen any fish from this river exactly, but yeah, I will say that yes, they do fishing here somehow.
What's the average salary in Guatemala?
Well, the average salary now, it depends. If it's by law, if you have a contract, you might get at least 2,400 Qs, which equals around $400.
So the average salary to you is about $400 in Guatemala.
In Guatemala, in an office with a contract. Without a contract, and if you're just doing a verbal situation or doing a simple job as going on the draft, is pay by day, which is at least 75 Qs by day, which is $10 by day. And also they offer to you at least 1,000 Qs or 1,500, which is equals to what, $200 monthly?
Something like that.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Something like that.
So based on the cost of living, it is a lot cheaper here, obviously, than in the U.S. Can you live fairly comfortably off $400 a month, or are you going to spend some nights hungry?
Well, that is a very good question. And my experience, I have been living out with a little bit more than that because of my level of education. I've been working in different companies and they pay me very well. But yes, I have been working in other companies that they pay just the minimum salary, and it's very difficult. And I've been living just by my own, by myself. Just renting a small room here in the city, which costs $100 per month. And I spend $100 in, basic stuff, food, probably going to the gym if it's possible, or going out with my friends, going to eat something different, something nice for my family as well. So it will be very difficult to have a family of 4 people with a minimum salary here.
Comment suggesting it sounds pretty good here. What if the Americans start flooding the borders and heading south? Well, you know
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
I don't think a lot of Americans realize how much opportunity there is around the world, including in some countries to the south. I enjoy personally taking advantage of that. I don't know if there's going to be some, say, mass awakening and Americans start flooding into Mexico and farther south in the hemisphere. But there's a lot of opportunity out there. And with the US passport, you can travel just about everywhere in this hemisphere, minus Venezuela, but pretty much everywhere now.
Right. Well, I have my opinion about that situation. About
Better than
Americans.
minus 40 with a wind chill. I don't do Canada.
Well, in my opinion, Americans, we are all Americans. Everyone that lives in South America, Central America, and North America are Americans. So you might want to say people from the United States want to live here in the South. It is possible. It is doable. We have here in the lake, the most beautiful lake in the world, that Lake of Atitlan. We have a bunch of people, foreigners, that they live here. Not also just for the United States. They come from Asia, they come from Europe, and they come from Australia as well. And they're making a life here. I don't know how they do it. They probably keep all the savings at one place and they install themselves here and they start doing businesses here. So that's the way they do it.
All right, final questions or comments because I need to cut off the stream. So post them now or hold your peace. Final questions or comments. What about from you? What's the last comment on your end?
Well, my last comment is that we are just here being witnesses of what is going on. We are not here to come up with a judgment or to say, well, this is happening. No, we're just being witness of what is going on here. Apparently everything is calmed down right now, but no, it's not. I mean, the large groups have not been seen in the past 24 hours that we have been here, but you can tell and you can say that people is still crossing, coming, going, and going back and forth, even for immigration or just working on the other side and getting back, but they are doing it. The movement is still going on, and apparently the people that is making the migration and the journey, they are not going to stop. They are determined to keep on going.
And on that note, I would say that indeed there's the migrant crisis lives on. Many more migrants are coming. Rumors of a caravan, we don't know for sure. I mean, a new caravan arriving here. If indeed I happen to be in town and a new caravan does arrive, you can count on me going live again. If not, I've got lots of footage, lots of interviews with migrants to roll out, and I'll be heading up through Mexico over the next month, and I think I'll be doing some more reporting on these issues and on the migrant crisis, potentially at the US-Mexico border. So stay tuned to this channel. Thank you very much for everyone who joined in and left comments and questions, and I'll be coming to you soon from Mexico. So for now, thank you very much. Muchas gracias, mi amigo. You've done an excellent job here. It's really been a big help.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
And I'll leave your link to whatever profile you want, David, in the description below. And there'll be plenty of more of you in the footage with the various interviews. So stay tuned to the channel. Muchas gracias, everyone, and adios.
See you soon. We're going to miss this güerito. El canchito se va a ir a México. Lo vamos a extrañar.
Hasta luego, muchacho. Glenn, hasta luego from the Guatemalan-Mexican border right here out on Rio Suchiate. Goodbye.